The Finch West LRT is probably happy that the Eglinton Crosstown LRT exists. After all, Eglinton has got a lot of bad press because it's been over budget, way behind schedule, and almost totally lacking in transparency thanks to Metrolinx, the provincial government agency in charge. Well, the Finch West LRT is another Metrolinx project that's behind schedule and lacking in transparency, but it's kind of managed to fly under the radar a bit while Eglinton got all the attention. But in the end, Finch West won the race. It's December 7th, 2025, opening day for Line 6, Finch West. And of course, I'm here to check it out. There are some similarities and some differences between the two lines. If you want to know more about the Eglinton line, I did a video about that a couple of years ago. There's a magic link up here, and I'll put a link down in the description so you can find it when you finish watching this video. Unlike Eglinton, only the stations at the end of this line, Finch West and Humber College, are actually stations. Everything else is just a stop at street level. The Humber College station is a bit weird. We'll talk more about that when we get there a bit later. Like the Eglinton line, there's a mixture of different types of stations along this, or different types of stops along this line. One of the types, like here at Duncan Woods, is a parallel stop, where the platforms are parallel to each other on opposite sides of the track. We'll have a look at some of the other types of stops along the way. But for now, let's get on a train and go for a ride.
These vehicles are the Alstom Citadis Spirit model, the same ones used for the disastrous Confederation line in Ottawa, so hopefully Alstom learned some lessons from that and made these vehicles better. That's a different model from the Bombardier Flexity Freedom used on Eglinton, and we'll get to some differences shortly. Similarities? Well, they're both low-floor LRT vehicles constructed of multiple modules, with doors on both sides, similar to the vehicles on Eglinton but different from the streetcars. I talked about those sorts of differences in my video about streetcars versus LRTs, links in the usual places. Why not use the same model? Bombardier fell behind schedule on the vehicles for Eglinton, and Metrolinx wanted a fallback plan, so they ordered vehicles from a different company, intending to use them here and on the Huron-Ontario line in Mississauga, but with the ability to use them on Eglinton if Bombardier fell through. Funny thing though, partway through all of this, Bombardier decided to get out of the rail business, so they sold that division to Alstom. So while they're completely different models, they're actually from the same company now.
One difference between this line and Eglinton is that the vehicles for this line have cabs on both ends. The vehicles for Eglinton were originally supposed to have cabs on both ends, but they deleted one of the cabs to free up more space for passengers, which they can do because those are always going to be run in trains of 2 or 3 vehicles. And that brings us to a difference in how these lines are going to be operated. Everything on Eglinton is built for 3-car trains, so while they're only starting out with 2, they have room to expand capacity just by adding a 3rd vehicle onto the trains. The vehicles used here on Finch West, the Citadis Spirit, can be run in trains of more than 1 vehicle, as they do in Ottawa. But all of the stops on this line are only built big enough for 1 vehicle operation, and I wonder if that might become a problem down the line, because the Finch West bus has long been one of the busiest bus routes in Toronto. Now, of course, these vehicles carry a lot more people than buses, but at some point you reach the capacity limit of running single-car trains. And if they want to expand it, they're going to have to rebuild all of the stops. Only the 2 stations at the ends are built big enough for 2-car trains. This is Norfinch Oakdale, and it's a far side stop. It's like a parallel stop in that the platforms are on the outside of the tracks in the center, but in the case of a far side stop, each platform is on the far side of the intersection in the direction of travel. The maintenance and storage facility for this line is just behind me there on the north side of the road, and the entrance to it comes off these tracks just east of here, between here and the next stop to the east, which is Jane. And this is Stevenson. It's a center platform stop. So there's one platform in the center with the tracks on either side of it. There's something weird about this one. All of the other stops are at intersections, and if they're named for a street, then they're at the intersection of that street and Finch. But Stevenson Road doesn't even intersect with Finch. It's over there behind me, running parallel to Finch. Weird. All right, now that we've seen all three types of stops, let's go have a look at the stations.
This is Finch West Station. As I mentioned before, the station has been built long enough to handle trains of more than one vehicle, so if they do end up doing that at some point in the future, at least they don't have to rebuild the underground station. The subway runs below the LRT here. When the TTC built this subway station as part of the subway extension to Vaughan, someone was smart enough to plan for the LRT. Not only did they leave room for the LRT station to be built above the subway line, they also designed the subway station with what are called knockout panels. They're kind of like what they sound like, parts of the wall that are designed to be knocked out so you can install corridors, stairs, or whatever in the future without having to tear up the rest of the wall. In this case, they're for connections so passengers can get between the two lines. While we head to our next stop, I should mention the elephant in the room. To say that opening day service was irregular would be an understatement. There was lots of bunching and gapping and long waits for vehicles. Even some small things didn't go well. One vehicle I rode decided to announce the wrong stops, and all the dot matrix displays above all the platforms were missing the most important thing for these signs: next vehicle information. Based on how today went, the TTC has a big to-do list for this line, and I hope they apply it to Eglinton as well so that line's opening day won't be so not smooth. And here's Humber College Station. Remember I said it's weird? It's a below-ground station built in a concrete box, but part of the top is open. So if you've ever been in an underground station and thought, you know what would be nice? If this station was full of Canadian winter weather, then this is the station for you. Just like Finch West, this one is built long enough to handle trains of more than one vehicle.
When the Eglinton line was first proposed, there was a possibility of extending it farther east into Scarborough, although because of the design of the Scarborough subway extension at Kennedy Station, it's no longer possible for that to be part of the same line. The Eglinton line is currently under construction with a western extension beyond the first phase of the line at Mount Dennis, and there's a possibility of another extension beyond that to a proposed mobility hub at the airport. I talked about that in my video about getting to the airport by rail. You know where to find the links. There are also possible extensions for Finch West. On the east end, it might be extended to meet the other branch of Line 1 subway at Finch Station, and on the west end, it might be extended further to that airport mobility hub. Although, unlike the case with Eglinton, neither one of those is even confirmed, let alone under construction. Well, there you have it. A tour of Line 6 Finch West. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do. Please like and subscribe.